hands are consistent, your game can go anywhere. Align Max, our newest raised ridge technology, designed to keep you and your game locked in on every shot. Only from Golf Pride. Respect the grip.
Welcome into the Wagyu Filet podcast here on Five Clubs. I'm Johnson Wagner, joined along by my best friend in the world, Brendon de Jonge. You probably had a voicemail from me at some point this week where I said that. And we've got a really special guest as well, Gary Williams. We're going to get into a ton of different topics today, a real Masters debrief from a high-level perspective. But Brendon, I'm going to give you first word. What's on your mind right now?
Well, before we get started, we need to figure out exactly what kind of
role
meat.
Here? And I'm thinking, you just called him your best friend in the world. How do you treat people you don't care for?
Brendon asked your question for Gary. Can you please, we're hosting this thing.
Okay.
You're our guest.
What is my role here?
No. We know what your role is. You're gonna be a gas bag. We're trying to figure out exactly
Professional gas
what
bag.
kind of meat you would be if you were a piece of meat. We're obviously the Wagyu
Skirt
Filet
steak,
Show.
maybe 4 ounces.
I love that. What did you think he was?
I said a petite filet, like not an Outback Victoria filet, but a little petite filet, maybe 2 ounces.
Okay, can you insult me 5-6 times before
I think I don't think he's worthy of being a piece of meat.
Smoked salmon.
All right. We just finished your show. We had such a great conversation breaking down the 18
Needed
holes.
more time.
I know, we needed more time. That's what this is right now. We're going to go into some topics that we didn't get a chance to get into, and I think we start with Rory, big picture, because we just ended your show with, this is a massive topic, and you said it so well. We're going to Quail Hollows, the next PGA. In your opinion, looking forward for Rory, what is the big picture take?
I think the big picture is, how big can Chapter 2 be? Because Chapter 1 was not only this incredible fast start in major championship history, joining only Tiger and Jack to have 4 at 25, and then naturally we're all projecting in 10 years. Was it unreasonable to think he would have 8? Of course not, but he still had 4. So he was 4 of his first 25, and then he was 0 of his next 39. And so he goes and he does something that we thought was probably not the best path or the most likely path, which was his next major was going to be the Masters and completing the Grand Slam. We thought he's got to win a major somewhere else to take that level of pressure off. But he does it all in once, which makes me think that Chapter 2, that he can go from what was 4 in the first 25 to now, can he go to 8 in the next 5 years? And my answer is, not emphatically, but realistically, yes, he can. Yes, he can.
And I love the way you termed that. Chapter 2. This is the start of Chapter 2 right now. It started last week at Augusta, and I'm with Gary there. I said it on our radio show, and I said it on the end of our show. I think Rory McIlroy, when it's all said and done, is going to be in double-digit majors. The pressure that a couple days ago, just took off him. He is going to show up at every single major championship, not having to deal with those questions, not having to deal with that pressure. This guy is, without a doubt, the most talented player in the game. And now the only obstacle that he's going to have to face is, can he keep that laser focus? Now that he's taken that massive gorilla off his back, can he keep that laser focus? And my answer to that is yes, I think he can.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when you look back at what Tiger did after winning the career Grand Slam at St. Andrews in 2000, he arguably went on the best run of his, not that Tiger felt any pressure. It's a totally different story because he won in his first attempt. But I think Rory's going to absolutely go off. And he's spoken about wanting to be who's the best European? I think Harry Vardon has the most major championships, different era, obviously. Seve's there.
100 years ago,
It's probably Seve.
Yeah, Faldo's got 6.
Let's do this. Can we just put Vardon in a category where we put players who played golf in the infancy of us understanding, particularly in this country? He is one of the most important figures historically. But to compare him to the likes of Faldo and Seve when they had tours, and the idea of where's the accomplishment? Let's look at the resume. Harry Vardon is a very important pillar of professional golf historically, but it's impossible to compare him to Faldo, Seve, and now Rory.
Do you feel the same way about Gene Sarazen and the Grand Slam?
The Sarazen thing is interesting because, again, we didn't know what it was in 1935. It was almost like we were getting out of the period where amateur golf and winning amateur majors, as Jones did, and he won the 2, which were 4 of the ones that he won to win the career Grand Slam 5 years prior to Sarazen winning what was then the Augusta National Invitation. I think it's slightly different, but not entirely different. Yeah. But we give him the modern slam, and I have no problem with that.
I would argue Rory is the best European now, like, right? I mean, sure. Of all time. Like, I would argue.
Would you put him ahead of Faldo and Seve?
I didn't grow up watching Seve, so it's hard for me to have any sort of like the Seve's flair for the dramatic and all this stuff.
He's almost a mythical figure.
Exactly. So that one's tough for me. But for me personally, I know he's got 1 less major than Faldo. But yes, I would. With having the career Grand Slam completed, I put him ahead of Faldo.
I think that's fair.
I was looking. Okay, so here is Seve, and this is a combination of the major championship profile and then also the other stuff. 87 major championship starts, obviously won 5 majors, which Rory now has. 37 top 25s, 20 top 10s, 15 top 5s. So the 5 wins, 3 seconds, 2 thirds. He has 50 European Tour wins. Faldo, 100 major championship starts, 45 top 25s, 26 top 10s, 19 top 5s, the 6 majors, 3 opens, 3 majors, 3 seconds, 3 thirds. Here's Rory, far less starts, 64 in total, 42 top 25s. So he has more than Seve. He has 3 less than Faldo in 36 less starts, 32 top 10s. So he has more than both those guys, 19 top 5s, same as Faldo, more than Seve, and he's got the 5 wins, plus he's got more seconds and more thirds than either one of those guys. And he's 35 years old with so many more majors left. I think that because he has the Grand Slam and those 2 guys, one of them didn't win even 3 of the 4. And I'm not trying to get wrapped up in the moment. Seve holds a special place in our heart. Faldo was one of the great stories of rebuilding yourself and becoming almost this robotic, I'm looking through you on my way to doing what he did. Faldo didn't even have one other top 10 in the Masters other than his 3 wins. He's got the 3 wins. I think Rory's the best because he's got the Grand Slam.
And I think the Grand Slam carries so much weight. It's like tennis. When you talk about the greatest of all time in tennis, I think Nadal's name gets thrown out because, sure, he's got the 22 majors, whatever, but he won the French 13 times. He doesn't have the all-round. I think that Grand Slam carries so much weight.
I completely agree. And when we look at Rory going forward, I think, the era of golf right now, you think it's a younger man's game. There's more youth coming out and playing really well. The way Rory has built his body, and he's only had 1 injury in his career, and that was when he was kicking a
was accidental.
Yeah. He's never really been injured for golf, and I think when you think of him at 35 years old, it's like, man, is he exiting his window right now, age-wise? I think he's not because of how fit he is. I mean, this dude's workout plan in the morning before he plays is ridiculous, and the fact that he hits it. He was second in the field in driving distance behind Bryson, so it's not like he's going off the cliff there. I think he could, I think, I don't want to speculate on how many number of majors he's going to win, but it's going to be a lot.
I want to, the thing you said, though, about where's his motivation, the drive for him to win any major, and let alone it being the Masters, so now he's got the Grand Slam, it's the human condition. He is conditioned to be highly competitive, highly driven, but I have no earthly idea to have a 10-year build to reach the summit, what this will mean for him, and any incremental kind of stepping off the gas can have an effect on performance. I don't have any earthly idea, but you kind of match that with the liberty, the freedom that he also has to be feeling, to be liberated from this burden that he has dealt with. That, to me, will be the most interesting thing. Can freedom and liberation override any subconscious, like, my gosh, what else is there for me to do? I don't think it's going to be overt where we're going, this guy, I don't know how much he cares, and we're not going to notice that. I'd like to believe that freedom and the idea of this sense of now I can really be unleashed will be more than the idea of I've done all I can do.
I'm interested to see, are we going to see now a Rory McIlroy? Obviously, we saw those comments from Bryson DeChambeau at the end of the round where Rory didn't say a single word to him. Rory's been pretty open talking on the golf course, typically with his guys. He's easy to play with. Are we going to now see a Rory that's a little more steely, that's more and more sort of Tiger-esque when he gets into these big moments where he's going to be that laser focus? I don't know who I'm playing with. I'm not talking to anybody. I'm concentrating on the task at hand, and that's it.
I think situationally, yes, but I think we're going to see a Rory that was more like 2011 congressional Rory, where he just blows away a couple majors because he has the freedom that you speak of. I don't think he needs to continue to work with Bob Rotella. He needs to continue to have the steely-eyed focus that he had, but I think he may just fall into a couple majors here in the next year and a half. I think the weight, there was so much weight on him. There was so much weight that now is off that he's going to start playing like he was back when he first started playing. He won 4 majors so quickly, like in a 3-year span. He won 4 majors, and it was the weight of winning at Augusta that it was crushing him for so long, and now that weight's gone. And I think he's going to come into Quail Hollow, and it's going to be a historic.
Is it too quick, though, to climb the mountain again?
No, absolutely not.
I don't think so.
It stinks because I really want Jordan Spieth to win at Quail, obviously.
Yeah.
I think it'd be incredible to complete the career Grand Slam.
Yeah.
I think it would be incredible to see it in back-to-back majors. Can you imagine?
That would be
back-to-back majors, but it's not going to happen because Rory McIlroy is going to win by double digits. He is. I'm sorry.
Let me just give you the most recent example of somebody who, and again, it's different. It's different in a lot of ways, but I do think the idea of, I don't think people understand what it takes to climb the summit and win any major. When Tiger won the Masters in 2019, they go to Bethpage, and he's with Koepka. He's paired with him in the first 2 rounds, and everyone's like, okay. He's broken back through again from 2008 to 19. He had his own 11-year window, and there was a lot in there. And there was a physical compromising to him that we don't associate with Rory. But the idea of climbing the summit again and all the sense of satisfaction, and you're a human being, the pats on the back, the celebrations, to get yourself back into that very, very narrow space to do this again. I hope it's not. I don't think it will. But I think about Tiger that week at Bethpage, and I thought it was too soon for him to go from the summit back to base camp, back to climb the summit again, literally 5 weeks later.
That is a fair point.
Sure.
I mean, you don't think are you on my side or are you on his side on?
And he's the most predatorial guy of them all.
But Tiger is so different than Rory. Tiger's body is just like the comeback. Like the Tiger's comeback to win the Masters was unbelievable, and it was his swan song. And I think he knew it at that time when he won. I think he was like, okay, I've worked myself back. I'm done winning major championships. And he's proven that, I mean, has he done anything since winning?
No, he hasn't. His best result in any major
is withdraw?
No, it was actually, he finished in the top 25 at Pebble that same year in 2019. One last thing about Rory, about like the way he's going to be. I think, not that he's bashful, I think it's counterintuitive for him to be. He can't be like Tiger. He's never going to be. Sure. I think he's indulgent. I think he has good qualities. I think his reflex, his human nature, is to have empathy and to be kind. I think, though, him doing this, like, he's going to walk around going, all you guys for the last 10 years, particularly in the last 5 years, said that I didn't have the mettle to do this. The sense of being emboldened and the sense of, really? You want some of me now? I got this jacket. And I think that he should feel a level of like Kevlar wrapped around him, that to me can allow him to go on this run, starting in a place where there's no place, where he hops around more with a sense of liberty, going, build a bunker anywhere you want, I'm flying over it, in particular on 16.
He's showing up with the weight of the world lifted off his shoulders with a toolkit like he's never had before. I mean, he has shots that he has never had before. You've talked about the spinny golf ball.
In an aura. He's added it, like he's done this.
Yep.
There are all these young people, guys, who love this game, who now watch YouTube golf, who are educating themselves on what it is that he's accomplished. Everybody of our generation knows the gravity of what he's done. He's in a space now he's never been in. It's not that he's never gotten attention. He's always gotten as much attention as anyone, but there's always been this snarky, cynical, yeah, win all those other events, but every time you show up at a major, you figure out a way to kick it away. And somehow, some way, he crossed the line to do this. He should never, in his life, he will never show up at another major like he's going to at Quail, feeling more like, really? What are you going to say now?
Exactly, and the toolkit that you're speaking of, like, what is that, like, expand.
I mean, the wedge game has never been this good. The control of the wedges, the control of the spin, the control of the trajectories. It's something that Rory, he struggled with. He was never a great wedge player. He went out and he worked so hard on this. He locked himself in a room for 3 weeks, essentially, and worked on this golf swing where he could start hitting these shots. He's starting to now realize, all right, I don't need to hit driver everywhere. He's starting to manage the golf course a little bit better.
How about the golf ball and the artistry we've seen?
Yeah.
The players. Shots from the trees at the Masters.
There are 2 shots that come to mind, and we didn't really get to talk about it in the show from this year that really explain what you're talking about. And I think for me, it was 17 in the playoff.
In the playoff, right.
At TPC Sawgrass.
Yep.
And he hit the exact same shot on 12 at Augusta.
Yeah.
It was a 3/4 9-iron, hit to perfection. Showing discipline,
that's a Masters champion shot right there.
100% is, and it's a Players Championship shot too.
Yep.
He hit it on Monday in that playoff, exactly at the Players where he needed to on 17, and he hit the exact same shot. And I don't think he had those shots. To your point, I don't think he had those shots even in August last year.
No, Rory was someone that he hit everything so solid that it was almost I can hit it through the wind because I can hit it so solid, and that was to his detriment. He was not a good player in the wind for a long time. Really, really struggled, and he's figured that out.
He used to, like last year, he's just spinning the ball too much, and I'm like, why is he going to a spinnier golf ball? And he's going to just spin it even more. He has shown so much control around the greens with the wedges. Maybe not so much on 13 on Sunday, but I'm going to give him a little, since we ended up winning the golf tournament, I'm going to give him a break there. All right, Rory.
One other shot, though, that I think gets lost from Sunday was the tee shot on 16. It's to a pin. None of these guys have played. And I'm going, okay, how's he going to play this? And if you look at the way he played, flighted that. That was not this full nuked out where you're going, oh God, it may get close.
Changed clubs and then flighted
it. Flighted it, kept it up on that shelf. Because he didn't make the putt, we move on.
Yeah.
I thought that shot was another example of him showing, okay, that is a weaponry that maybe we have not seen from him. In the past, he'd take the other club that might have gotten to that top shelf and spun back down to where the pin usually is on Sunday.
Yeah, that is another perfect example. And moving, like we didn't talk about, I don't think we talked about enough how much he struggled on holes on the tee shots on 7 and 14 and 17. It was bad. And for him on Sunday, in the position, not making that putt on 16, he hit the most heel cut 3-wood you've ever seen in your life. But he got it in the fairway.
Yes.
And he talked about steering. That was a steer job.
Exactly. And then his second shot into 17, when he's saying, oh please go, That's not a very good Irish accent, but I mean, and everybody that's watching it is just like hanging on the edge of their seat, and it lands and it bounces up.
You see the ball bouncing.
What's that?
You see the ball bouncing, like you think it's going to be in the bunker, and next thing they see it bouncing.
And he hits it to 3 feet, and it was like, it was unbelievable. The tee shot on 18, like, I just can't. I can't quite get over the roller coaster of emotions. I know we're kind of backpedaling here. If we want to, do we want to stop with Rory and go on to other topics because we have more?
No, one last thing about
Rory,
the toolkit. Even though that there was, and again, I think the extenuating circumstances of him just really struggling to get settled, and I don't think he ever totally did. He missed a number of makeable putts, but yet over the course of the week, particularly when he got off to that incredible hot start, that during the middle of that round, start on the 4th hole with a par putt, same thing on 11. He's become so much more reliable. We can go back to the putt he made on the 18th hole in regulation at the Players. Like, my God, if he doesn't make that, where does the narrative go as we head to Augusta National? Look at his putting stats. This guy, even though, again, He kind of thinned the putt on 18 in regulation. Statistically and in real time, looking in critical moments, his putter is more reliable than it's been in years past.
Yeah, he missed a bunch of makeable putts, but that's a testament to how difficult those green surfaces are as well, right? Like everybody's going to have their share of missed putts out there.
They are, and I think it's interesting. You look at Phil Kenyon and Scotty Scheffler and working, and Phil Kenyon's more of a scientific, mechanical, button you up sort of coach. Brad Faxon is the opposite of that.
Yes,
and I really like working with Brad on Live From and seeing the passion he had for Rory and the love he had for Rory and listening to him talk about the way they work on things. And yes, of course there's a technical element, but it's more of a mindset.
Yeah. It's artistry.
Yes.
It's find the fun in putting like you do. Like you walk around like the Pied Piper with every other club in your bag. Why can't you at least display some freedom and not be so static? And he's not when he putts.
And so when you look at him when he comes out on the putting green and starts warming up versus like Bryson. Bryson puts a yardstick down and he's so mechanical and I take it back X number of inches to hit it X far, and it worked on 18 on Saturday. He said I think he said it was a 50-foot putt. But since it was a little bit uphill in the beginning, he played it at 54 feet. It's like, no.
And that works for him. He's a very reliable putter.
It does, but when you play around Augusta National, when you play Tillinghast courses, when you play McKenzie courses, when you play Ross courses, which basically are major championship courses, greens have pitch and slope that clearly weren't designed to run at 13.5 on the stimp. You better be an artist when you putt. And that's how Rory, I feel like that's how he is putting.
In Bryson's defense, he's won majors on a Tillinghast golf course and a Ross golf course. So
that's fair. All right, well,
let me ask you guys one question before we move on from Rory. Is he world number one at the end of the year?
God. I would.
You're gonna say yes. Just go ahead and say it. Don't act like, oh, this is so hard.
Well, I mean, I thought the mountain was too big to climb because Scotty had built this big lead.
He's reeling him in, man.
But I mean, if he wins another signature event in a major, and Scotty doesn't win anything, Scotty's gonna win. But yeah, I mean.
Well, here's interesting.
Way to sit on the fence.
See, here's Scotty Scheffler, who has been unequivocally the best player in the world for the last 3 years. He's been relentless. He gets out in front. If he doesn't win, he's third. And he's winning all these big events. And the way he's done it in all different ways. He'll get out in front and stay out in front. He'll get behind. He'll come from behind, like he did at the Players, like he did at the Olympics. Scotty Scheffler, this is an interesting study. Hey, man, where's your response? Because that guy is left Augusta National with the same type of freight train momentum that you did last year. Scotty Scheffler left Augusta National with 3 wins, which included the Players and the Masters, and another signature series event in the API. Here's Roy. He's got Pebble, he's got the Players, he's got the Masters. Now, here's world number 1. Where's your answer? I think this for all of us saying we need this, we want this, you rarely get it. I think Scotty Scheffler's got something to answer to, does he not?
I think maybe it's the kick in the butt that he needs.
And I'm not questioning his performance.
Scheffler has played fine.
Of course he has, but this is what the best do. You've taken a punch in the chops here, whether it was directly or not. This guy was so far behind you, not only statistically, but in everybody's mind. Now he is the guy.
And also, by the way, Rory took a shot at the Ryder Cup in the press conference on Sunday, and he said they asked him about the play, and he's like, well, I'm glad it was a Euro. Like, it's a Ryder Cup year. We're looking good. And Rory was on record talking about, winning after Rome. He said, we're going to win at Bethpage. And I think for Scotty, on a broader, bigger picture, like those top Americans better start answering the call here soon. Because they are honestly, like that European team's looking great. Behind the scenes, they've got a plan for how to handle Bethpage, how to handle Ryder Cup. We don't need to get too far ahead of ourselves. We got a long time.
But if you go back,
but Scotty needs to answer.
He does, and it doesn't mean he's got to win the Heritage. It's not that. It's that this is how we keep score. And when Rory showed up in the United States for his first start, it was at Pebble. And he said, first of all, they had spent time together at the match. I think that those guys genuinely like each other. Yeah. And he said, I took inspiration from him. Look, the measurement of the best players, it's such a small, finite number of guys that you damn well better draw inspiration and motivation from each other. And he said it audibly. He said it out loud. Scotty is motivated me. He is clearly the best player in the world. Here is Rory. It's the middle of April. He has drawn inspiration, and he has shown the results, and he leaves with the exact same resume, for the most part, after the Masters that Scotty had in 24. Rory's got it in 25.
Yeah, I mean, I think Rory is going to do what I think. Yes, I think Rory will be number one at the end of the year. I do.
Good.
I do too. Rory has never won 5 times on the PGA Tour in his career. He's got two seasons with 4 wins. When he got to world number 1 for the first time in 2012, and then again in 2019, he had 4 wins. So he's winning 5 or more, right? 5 or more?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, I agree.
Unless he
is
retires.
too.
Unless he's like, I've done it. I'm going to retire. I'm just going to go away.
Boy, that would be.
I think
That'd be a weird kind of John Elway, Sandy Koufax.
Yeah.
I'm out.
I know. The better chance of him retiring had he lost
Suzanne
that playoff.
Pedersen to a lesser degree after the Solheim Cup.
Lorena Ochoa.
Yes.
All right, let's get into the live guys.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, Bryson in the final group. Let's start with him. I'm going to start, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I thought the fact that he mentioned that Rory didn't even talk to me in a post-round interview or press conference was weak. I think that was a weak move. I think it was a crybaby. You were in the moment. You endeared yourself to fans. You weren't there for the last 9 holes, but you tried. You tried. Clearly, he didn't have his best stuff. I mean, grinding on the range on Saturday night until the dark, and they had the lights out there. I think it speaks to the fact that these live guys, they're not prepared for the Masters because they've played a handful of live events coming in. They haven't been tested. They haven't had to go through any sort of gauntlet as far as competitive environment. I don't think they've played enough. And leading into the first major, I don't think they've been tested mentally and physically with their golf game.
And let me just say, for anybody who likes live, it's analysis. It's not hating on it. That is a sensible thing. I think everybody who's over there has got to be thinking, we have to do a better way of, while yes, we're getting paid a lot of money, we have to value these events. The PGA Tour does the players on the PGA Tour a favor by including the agronomic setup of an event that immediately precedes the Masters to give them these conditions. And I think LIV does struggle with, one, globally hopscotching all over the place, and also Miami, for it being close in proximity to Augusta National, Brendon, it's Bermuda grass wall to wall that you're just analyzing and constructively examining what's best for them. Nobody can sit here and say that their schedule is best suited to give them some type of practical run-up to Augusta National, because it doesn't.
Yeah, the live build-up was Miami, Doral, on a golf course, as Gary said, is Bermuda wall-to-wall under extremely windy, difficult conditions. That's not a good tune-up for Augusta. That is probably the worst tune-up for Augusta. Now, I know on tour they were in San Antonio where it was kind of the same thing, but you're still playing off an overseed. There is that. You've got the same similar agronomic conditions. So, yeah, if you're a live guy, that's not the ideal build-up, but, I mean, there's nothing else you can do.
And I'm going to make this point about Doral. Doral obviously is an incredible championship. Well, it's
got a great history.
It's got a great history.
Yeah.
And when you win a golf tournament at Doral, you face a pretty big gauntlet on that 18th hole. It's an iconic finishing hole. Whatever you say about Doral.
Pretty much unchanged from go back in the day.
18's an iconic finishing hole. And this is how I think this perfectly sums up LIV, is that Charles Schwartzel had a chance to win at Doral, and he finished on the first hole. He finished on 1. That's an easy par 5. I'm sorry, that has an effect. You're not teeing off. You're not the last 2 people on the driving range. You played with Tiger Woods Sunday at Congressional at his event.
Yep.
You were in the final group with Tiger Woods. What it means to tee off on a Saturday, Sunday in twosomes, and you are the only 2 people on the driving range.
It's lonely. It's an added pressure.
You've not only earned the time, you've earned the pressure that is associated with that. That's what championship golf is. That's why I admire and wanted to cover what you guys do, because it is different. It's not a shotgun member guest. And again, that's another element of the things that they're being deprived, the edge that you get from earning a time that is late in the day on a Sunday. And as much as I know that these tournaments, they're entertainment products, they're television shows, but at its core, it is a highly intense competitive environment. And being the only 2 or only 4 left on the range on a Sunday, you know that is what you've earned, but that is also the responsibility you have to perform, knowing you're going to finish on 18 after everybody else is done. And that is not something that exists on that tour.
And that's what I would say to Liv. Like, listen, if you guys are all about gung-ho about the shotgun start, go for it. First 2 rounds, go for your shotgun start. You have to have a tee time start on that final round. So you're dealing with
fair idea.
So you're dealing with that final pressure at the end.
I can completely
And let's say you only do it in the events or the last event before the next major is played. Look, if Liv wants to do what's best for their players, what's best for their players is giving them the best chance to perform in those events that have all that attention so that they can gain some traction from the Masters back to whatever their next event is. And it's not like, look, Bryson's in the last group, Patrick Reed had a good week, and we'll get to these other guys, but you have to do other things that can tangentially benefit your tour, and that is, let's take those 4 events, the last event, and make it a tee time.
Be willing to adapt. Just be willing to adapt
as well.
Yeah.
So,
anybody specifically from Liv? You want to get into Rahm, or who do you?
Yeah, here's the thing I would say about Jon Rahm is that I where is the truth about where you are in terms of your own edge and what it is that you're lacking or being deprived of, or just your game overall in terms of the golf courses that you play. And I understand they're not in 36F when they're flying from Riyadh to Singapore, but this is not conducive to you being as the best you can possibly be when you show up at the first major championship of the year. Yes, he finished tied for 14th, but these majors are precious. You are in your major window. You are in the middle of your window right now. And just look at his results since he's left. They have been ordinary by his standards.
And I picked Jon Rahm because I thought
Never
he was...
a factor.
No, he wasn't. And
I thought he was going to miss the cut.
I thought he was in a good headspace. Like, the press conference that he did last year's Masters was shocking. You could tell he was miserable, he was bitter, he was defensive. Listen to the press conference this year was much, much better. He sounded like he was in a good headspace. He was happy where he was. He felt like the game was good. And you said it, he was never a factor. But do you think these Liv guys, obviously they only get to play against the PGA Tour players 4 times. It's that much of an added pressure every time you're showing up because you know that, hang on, I'm not going to get to do this again until next month and then maybe only 3 more times.
Yeah, it's ridiculous how much pressure they have on him, which is why what Brooks did winning at Oak Hill, and I mean, and what Bryson did winning at the US Open, it makes it that much more special. I think when we think back on it, they're playing with like this edge of everybody hates them.
Yeah.
They're villains. I mean, for the most part, there are people that still like him, but like Jon Rahm he won the Masters and he shows up to defend, and he is not like love.
There's no joy.
Well, there's no joy. I'm sure from all the patrons, it's like, man, you just won this tournament, and then you stabbed everybody. And people feel that way. That like when he left, because he was so adamant about never going, and he had to show up as defending champion at Augusta last year and face all this scrutiny. I think, like, talk about Rory having a ton of weight on him. Jon Rahm seems to have a mountain of pressure. I think Rory's was Mount Everest. I think Jon Rahm's is more like probably
Pilot Mountain. Come on, man.
No, but I mean he does. He. The difference is Jon Rahm put that mountain on himself.
Right.
That was self-induced mountain put it on. Rory's was the weight of a lot of different stuff. He was carrying around a lot of weight.
You mentioned Brooks there. I think Brooks is different. Like, he didn't care about regular season events anyway.
I agree.
He couldn't care less.
He doesn't care what people think about him.
He doesn't care what people think about him. Like, he's not that guy.
How about P. Reed jumping up solo third?
At the risk of not wanting to get sued for saying something defaming, I'm going to extricate myself from the conversation because I don't think there's one thing I could say about that guy that would be nice. So I'm going to not comment on Patrick Reed.
I will say this about him. Again, his play, this to me only just amplifies what we all know. The guy is a witch, the closer you get to the hole.
Yeah.
And we talk about Scheffler's very efficient, his chipping is excellent, and certainly Spieth has been, I think, and JT, Justin Thomas, those guys, there's a wizardry to the way that they hit short shots. And Patrick Reed is in that category. He is a sensational chipper of the golf ball, and for somebody who does not have the requisite overriding length to allow that to be a great advantage at Augusta National, it is to his credit that he can use what is his best weapon to still be competitive in the event, I
think his other best weapon is that he likes being the villain. He's
totally comfortable.
He loves it. He loves being that guy that no one's pulling for. I remember before what did he win, in 18?
Yes.
The 18 Masters when him and Rory were going out, and I was with Henrik Norlander. We were having a couple beers, and he said, "There's no way that Rory's going to beat Patrick Reed." I was like, "Why not?" He's like, "Because everybody is pulling for Rory McIlroy. Reed's going to go out and beat him because of that." And sure enough, he did.
That's pretty amazing. So, question about live guys going into the PGA Championship. Who would, if you had to pick a live guy to win, who would it be, based on what you saw at the Masters?
Yeah. I would probably say that Bryson would be the guy because, one, nobody knows the golf course better than you do, and to his credit, his iron play was not just less than Rory, it was less than most people. And that, in some ways, if you're trying to find ways, like I think you guys do at times, accentuate the good stuff. And the fact that he was less than great and played his way into the final group, and then he got exposed on Sunday. It's hard to be, really average ball striking there, especially your iron play, and really have a chance to win. I would start with Bryson, but I will tell you that Joaquin Niemann, I don't think that an overwhelming number of people are paying attention, but Phil Mickelson, whether he did him a disservice or not by declaring he's the best player in the world, hey man, he finished tied for 29th, okay? You win all those events over there, you do have a referendum now. You have to contend in a major because all it does is just kind of discredit the other stuff.
And he keeps getting sponsor exemptions. He got a special invitation to the Masters the last 2 years. He's not qualified for these major championships.
Right.
He's not high enough in the world ranking to get in, and it's.
John Rahm's still the one for me. I still think John Rahm is. I think he will contend at Quail Hollow.
Okay, I tend to agree with you about Bryson. I think the golf course fits him really well, the way he drives the ball, right to left ball flight. I think his short game was so good.
Yes.
He's so rigid and stiff, but he had this little when he was chipping, he had this little whip. It was so subtle, and he was able to generate some spin. I would have said Quail Hollow maybe too difficult around the greens for him to win, but he won at Wingfoot. He won at Pinehurst. So I think Brian,
his up and down on 8 at Pinehurst should eliminate the idea that he's not capable. I'll never consider him to, but he's capable.
Oh yeah.
And that to me is impressive. Let me mention a few other guys like Tyrrell Hatton, finished tied for 14th. Tyrrell Hatton has one top 10 in his last 20 major championship starts. That to me that's inferior for who he is. I don't get it. Do you have any theory as to is it because he runs so redline-ish, his patience gets tested too often, that he can be self-destructive?
That's the only thing I can think of.
He's too good a player.
It's a test of your patience. Every major championship is a test of your patience, and he stated it. We see it. He lacks patience.
Yeah, was it Saturday that he missed the tap in on 17?
Yes.
You're in the
paired with Spieth on Saturday,
and he missed the tap in on 17.
Yeah.
You're in this golf tournament. You're playing great golf. The frustration on 16 because it was the front right pin.
Yeah.
And he was long left on the slope, and he putts it up, and it comes back down to the same ridge, and he 3-putts. He had a good chance for birdie. He hit a really good putt on 17 and walks up to kick in a 12-inch putt. It was a tap in.
Well, and in all his presses, he still talks about how much he doesn't like the golf course.
Yeah, but that's you're talking about not having patience. I think it's his anger and his volatility. When you're angry and you're mad, and you're thinking about how mad you are, and you go tap in a putt like he did on that 17th hole, That's why he can't win, is because of his patience, like you said, lack of.
Yeah.
And because of the volatility and the anger that he carries. You can't win angry.
Yeah, I don't get that. He also he continues this kind of I'm the aggrieved golfer. That is, first of all, that doesn't play well. Nobody likes that character. And get over it. You're getting spots in these events. Let me mention a few other guys who missed the cut. Dustin Johnson, which I think we all would agree comfortably that talk about human nature, the idea of getting all the money you have, and that is it?
He's checked out.
I'm comfortable.
He's checked out.
Sergio Garcia, to me, and I don't think Rory is this. But when Sergio Garcia won the Masters, he was a year and a half older than Rory is currently now. He was 37 in 2017. I thought, not that there was going to be some tear, but maybe he'd win another one. That he was the guy starting all the way back in 2002. You're going, he's earmarked for several. Never got one. Then he did. Listen to his major championship results since he won the Masters. He has 26 major championship starts, 16 missed cuts, at one point 7 in a row, and his best result in any since winning the Masters was a tie for 12th last year at the U.S. Open.
Wow.
That to me is extraordinary. That's an extraordinary underachievement level for a one of the more talented players of his generation. Is that unfair?
No, I mean, he made his bed and he needs to sleep in it, and all of them do. And I think we have wasted too much time on Liv.
Okay, let's move on.
There's one last topic I would like to get into.
Okay.
And this is sensitive. I think you and I both have been pretty unfair to Harry Diamond, Rory's caddy. Not unfair.
Yeah, I don't know if it's been unfair.
We have been on the record, on camera, on podcasts, saying that we don't think he's a very good caddy. That he could have won. Rory could have been at 10 or 12 majors right now had he hired Steve Williams when he fired JP. And I want to say, I'm going to start this by saying that Sunday was his best performance because Rory's paired with Bryson. They're not speaking, and he is definitely going to be talking. Only person he's talking to on that golf course. Well, I think he made it clear he talked to Dottie Pepper a little bit, and he talked to Harry. And so I think Harry was in that situation. He was great. But earlier in the week, I was having this conversation with Fax on camera on Live From. And Fax shared a story about the Pinehurst U.S. Open, like how he's talking about the intangibles, and he doesn't like how Harry doesn't get a lot of credit, and so. After 16, Brad had talked to him. He's like, what did you say to Rory? And so after Rory misses that putt on 16 at Pinehurst, they're walking up to the 17th tee, and what Harry Diamond said to Rory was, hey, if it were Monday, you would take being tied for the lead at the U.S. Open on 17th tee on Sunday. And Rory apparently was like, oh, okay, well done. Rory said, and I asked Brad immediately, I said, well, where did he hit that next shot? Because he yanked it in the bunker, made a great up and down, but he ultimately would obviously lose to Bryson. And then on Sunday in the press conference, Rory was asked about Harry specifically, and what did Harry say to you after signing your scorecard going out for the playoff? And Harry Diamond had the same line. He said, if it were Monday, we'd take being in this position to go into a playoff for the U.S. Open, and it's like, for the Masters.
Yes.
And it's like he used the same line twice in the last two chances that he had, and I've got plenty of examples on why I think how Harry could have done a better job, and I'm going to start with you, Brendon, on 15 on Thursday when Rory chipped it into the water. What were you thinking as he's walking around to go drop in that drop circle?
What in the world are you doing? You know it as well as I do. As players, you make a mistake like that. It's a huge mistake. Your mind starts spinning right away. You want your caddy to say to you, okay, let's slow things down. Here are our options. We can replay that shot. We can go back to the drop zone. Which do you think is an easier shot? Which would you prefer? And then it's up to the player to make the decision. Rory didn't even think about having the ability, and he spoke of this, having the ability to re-hit the shot. Went straight to the drop zone. That shot is so difficult, Wags.
He had just watched Akshay Bhatia struggle
in the
with,
same group.
And Akshay took the third option, which is go back online with where it crossed, and Akshay went to give him a good number. There was one place that Rory could make an absolute mess. He could have made a 10 from that drop circle. He could have rinsed his fifth. He could have hit it in the bunker and rinsed the next one. Rory could have made a 10. Like in that situation, he didn't know Patrick Cantlay had just made an 8, but like you hit the shot, it didn't check. It's like, man, this green's a little firmer right now. Maybe, how about I just drop a ball right here, putt it up there to 10 feet. Maybe I make 6, maybe I make 7. And to me, like, I agree with, like, I wanted to tackle him. He said he didn't even, he's like, I thought I had to go there. And that's where a good caddy comes in.
Right.
That's where a good caddy comes in. And he's like, exactly what you said.
I go all the way back when it comes to this conversation and him and whether it's Harry or anybody else. This was 2012 at the Irish Open, and they were playing in Killarney, and he hit a shot on the 18th hole, and Jay Townsend was on the broadcast for the European Tour at the time, and Jay was critical of the decision making, and Rory came in, and he said something to the effect of, because I don't know what advice, if any, JP gave him, but basically the point was, Jay said, you should listen to your caddy. And I'm paraphrasing. And Rory's response was, he's my caddy, he's not my father. And then he made a very snide comment and said, and he's just a failed golfer, meaning the guy who made the comment. And I stuck that away as it was not only, look, he's a young guy, it's a moment of petulance, you're questioning my decision making, and look, you're athletes and you're reflexive and you heard it and you're defensive about it. The J.P. Fitzgerald thing was obviously good for quite some time. Rory's position on certain things, he's a righteous dude. And because Harry has been criticized, first of all, I don't think he's ever replacing him. Whether he thinks he should, and he's ever had moments where he thought he should, he's never going to, I think partially out of defiance for people who have been critical of Harry, like, I'm never going to give you the satisfaction of me replacing him because you guys think that he wasn't good enough.
I think that's where we are now,
And now that they've won a major championship, and here's the other thing. I think that Rory, I don't know how he would respond to somebody who was more demonstrative or was sterner, because at the end of the day, I think he's a sensible, kind guy, but in that environment, know your role. But I'm not denying that the things that you guys have pointed out, you're not being hypercritical. These are not unreasonable observations. These are things that you guys see having relationships not only with your own caddies through the years, but looking at guys who do it in the best way, that make you in times that might get really fast, it's like slow down. Give yourself a moment, because that's when you as a caddy have a chance to influence things. You can't ever hit a shot, but in terms of people's process, like you said about when Rory finished in regulation, hey man, tell him to go in, wash his hands, look in the mirror, do something, change the temperature of everything. I just think with Harry, I just go all the way back to Rory's feelings about whether it be J.P. Fitzgerald, whether it be about caddies in general, and now about people taking shots at Harry, like their relationship is so intensely personal, never in his wildest dreams is he going to end it. That's my feeling.
That's completely fair. And look, Rory doesn't need a caddy like a lot of players do. I think Justin Rose needs his hand held a little bit, and his relationship with.
And he ain't easy on Fooch.
No, he's not.
Oh my God.
No, he's not.
Sergio Garcia won the Wyndham Championship with a local.
Yeah.
Matt Kuchar famously won Mayakoba with a local and didn't pay him.
That guy's still dining out on that.
So everybody's a little bit different, but I pose a question to y'all. Like, Scottie Scheffler's a superstar, and he was a stud. But do you think he has 2 Masters right now if Ted Scott didn't go to work for him? Like, yeah, Ted won 2 Masters with Bubba. Like, do you not like?
Yeah, it's a challenging hypothetical, but I think your point is, look, Ted Scott is he's the perfect guy for Scottie Scheffler.
He absolutely is, and there's a perfect caddy out there for everybody. And I think the narrative of when when players talk about and they diminish the role of a caddy, it drives me crazy. You're allowed to have one teammate. He's a teammate out there. And if you want to put a value on a caddy, they get paid 10% of a win. I think sometimes they're 20, 25% of a performance, and I think sometimes for certain guys they're 5% of a performance. It's just my opinion. There was too many times last week. I think 15 is the most glaring that there's like I guess my point is I just want to make sure that the like caddies need to get that credit, and I think had Rory, like he spent his prime training his buddy to be his caddy.
Yeah.
And I think he missed a window. But like obviously now that he's got it done, his window's kind of expanded, and he is fit and he is motivated. And Rory's not like me. Rory doesn't need his hand held by a caddy. He doesn't need a caddy telling him what to do. But I had to have the conversation.
And I've thought about this a lot. Maybe because obviously we don't see a lot of the outspoken, verbal stuff with Harry. Maybe a lot of it is just the quiet word, and maybe
I think his presence is comfort. I think his presence. If you look at Rory's life, and if you look at the people who are in his life, many of them have been in his life the whole way. It's not like you look at it and you go, well, his team now is a creation of a persona that he feels like he needs to move on from whatever, kind of parochial way that he used to do it. Whereas you look at Sean and you look at Niall, and I looked at those guys when he made the choice to give them the responsibilities that he did when they were very young, just like he was, and I thought, my gosh, is he making the right decision here? And I don't profess to know Sean O'Flaherty, who is his manager, exceptionally well, but I know people who do know well enough to know that guy is not only incredibly bright, but is a central figure, a stabilizing force. And Niall, same thing, who doesn't want comfort in their life? And Harry, while, again, I don't discredit these observations that you guys made about these critical moments in these most pressurized environments, I think that maybe that's what he feels like he needs, because it's a reflection of the people in his life that are close to him that have always been. Like his father. His father still on occasion walks with him at golf tournaments. Whose father at 35 is out there walking? And it's not like Rory needs to be coddled. Yes. Yeah, he does. And look at Scotty's team. He's got Randy Smith, he's got Blake Smith, he's got Ted Scott, he's got his parents. Yeah. I mean, that's rocking it old school.
Yeah, and I mean, the intangibles that Harry brings of just the moments that they have to be able to talk, and there are different. This is the last conversation I'm going to have about Harry until he makes another mistake at the next one.
That's fair. It's fair.
But anyway.
Okay, let me ask you guys this: if you guys are as bullish as you are, which you are, about Quayle, just think about just history in the first two majors. Only a handful of guys have done it. I mean, when we had what is the modern Slam, which, Augusta National, Invitation in 34, and then Sayers in 35, there was no build. Nobody knew what it was. Craig Wood, 1941, was the first one to have the first two. He didn't go to the British Open because World War II was going on, so we didn't have that. Snead in 49 won the first two. And the first two actually was the Masters and the PGA. So he went to the U.S. Open. He lost by a shot. 51 was Hogan, the first of two. He didn't play in either the PGA or the Open Championship. 53, he went to the Open one time and won it, and didn't get to play the PGA because it overlapped. So then it was Palmer in 1960, and that's when you felt like, and that's when he and Bob Drum, it was like the idea of the modern Grand Slam was really talked about and kind of branded, and he went to the old course and he lost to Kel Nagel by a shot. Okay? And then you got to go to Jack in 72, and he won the first two, and he went to the Open at Muirfield. And he lost to Trevino by a shot.
I don't appreciate you using our show to go off on some history tangent, by the way.
But like this stuff.
Do you remember at the start of our last show when you wanted to challenge him on golf history?
Do you remember when I asked him to come on, and now I'm regretting it?
But isn't this stuff.
So I'll speak to my personal, like Jordan Spieth in 2015. He won the first two and then was one shot out of the playoff.
When he made the putt on 16, did you think he was going to win it?
Yes,
he made the bomb on 16.
Absolutely, I did. And so I hear your perspective and what you're saying, but
it's cool as hell to have this.
Well, let's get there first.
But you think we're getting there? You just 30 minutes ago, you
So he's
said
gonna
he's
win
winning
by double digits.
Okay, then let's go talk about Oakmont. Let's talk about Oakmont. I like Rory's game.
You think we're going to have it, though?
I like Rory's game for Oakmont, and then what would be the kicker would be him going to Port Rush for the Open Championship for the season Grand Slam. Like, I don't. We're not going. I'm sorry.
Okay,
we'll go there after the PGA. We're not going there right now.
But you guys think that we're not going to get to Quayle, and we're going to look at him going, he's having a hard time getting re-engaged here because
not at all.
It was Summit, it was K2, it was Kilimanjaro. He climbed them all in 1 week, and he's not. It wasn't enough time. You don't think we're going to experience that?
I fully expect him to show up to Zurich in next week.
Yep.
Play with Shane Lowry, defend. I'm not saying they're going to win, but they're going to have a blast.
Yep.
They're going to have
That's going to be a party.
It's going to be a party. It's going to be a blast, and it's going to give him at least
Zurich
enough
to
reps.
Get this. I mean, I'm happy for them. They have been in the wonkiest spot in the schedule forever, and I was lucky enough to be there. Mo and Dick Kearns, who have that great relationship. Shout out to Mo and Dick.
Please don't shout out people on our show.
Okay.
You've got your own show.
That's strike two.
You've got. I keep trying to end the show.
How about Zurich? They have this. They have this, and then they create the team event, and they get some one-offs. Ron played in it with Ryan Palmer, but they get Rory and Shane coming back in defense, and that green jacket's going to be in the French Quarter. How good is that for that event?
I'm in the booth that week. I'm very excited.
My! Pace yourself, mister.
Well said. You got anything else?
No, that's it. I mean, listen, I fully expect Rory to be 100% engaged when he shows up here, and I will be a hell of a lot more surprised if he doesn't win than if he wins.
I completely agree. Well, thank you so much for listening to the Wagyu Filet podcast here on Five Clubs. Thank you to Gary Williams, our guest today.
Really fun to be with you. How about the PGA Championship preview show that we have? You picked the right Masters champion.
I know. I get lucky every once in a while. We finally have a right pick. But anyway, thank you so much for listening. We'll see you soon.